I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. Here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me, pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe, and by the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't want to know. But you will have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part. Today, being the last day of November, I am enjoying this cup of coffee out of the Yukon Czech Christmas Market coffee mug that is from December of 2019. So the holiday mugs have been unpacked and we're ready to enjoy coffee for the holidays. And of course, all good coffee cups need to put coffee in your mouth. Today is episode 18. Bob, Dave, and Jay. When my honey and I moved from California to Oklahoma, the first thing we did was had to get employment. We were also very pressed to find a Cub Scout pack for our youngest son, Joshua. We had left a pack in California, and it had been a couple of months now, and we finally found a pack here in beautiful Yukon, Oklahoma. We found pack 365. It was a newly formed pack in the Will Rogers district, and this is where I met my future friend, Dave. Dave is a local plumber who was also a district commissioner for the Will Rogers district of the last Frontier Council of the Boy Scouts of America. And then, through the next few weeks, Dave chased, badgered, stalked me constantly, telling me how great life was going to be if I became a Will Rogers District Commissioner. Well, yeah, in reality, I believe he asked me twice. Now, as a district commissioner, because yes, I had joined up, there are several hats that we have to wear as commissioners. The biggest hat is the recharter of the various units in the district. And it happens once a year, and it takes the commissioners about 2 months to make it all happen. We also fundraise for the council. That is something that we are expected to do. And our big thing is to help the units whenever possible. We are the support system for the units. Now, during my stay with the commissioners, I got to meet some very nice people who were very concerned about that part, helping the units. Now, helping the units has two different definitions. One is from the council, and to help units, commissioners need to facilitate the recharter of units, and they need to fundraise for the council. What the commissioners believe is we need to facilitate the recharter of units and support the units in accomplishing the scouting life for the youth in our charge. Every now and then we do a little fundraising. If we don't help units in their needs, then why would those units want to help the commissioners in their fundraising for the council? Now, knowing the basic conflict between the council and the commissioners, that is the point where our story really begins. One of the units in our district requested from the council the BB guns. So the council had a set of BB guns. And they were denied without reason. So this situation gets dropped to the commissioners. Find out what's up. So a few phone calls later, and my buddy Dave informs me that the guns were left out in the rain and then put away wet, and now they're ruined. The council then made the decision not to replace them, which leads, now another week after that, to the night of the next district roundtable meeting. The roundtables are where the unit adult leaders and the commissioners get together to plan for the needs and the future of the district. Often during these meetings, someone from the council comes in, and they normally are requesting fundraising or help from one of the district units for a council level event, etc., stuff like that. And at some point during this time when the council level person was speaking to the units, the topic of the need for BB guns was brought up. Without BB guns, the Cub Scouts cannot earn their BB gun belt loop. And the council representative explains that some unit had borrowed the guns, let the guns get wet, and now they're ruined. So the council was not going to replace them. Oh my goodness. This started a storm of rebuttal from the units. And the more that the units pointed out that it was the council who was supposed to be supporting them, the more hardened the resolve was of the council representative, saying that they weren't going to replace these guns. Now is the time to introduce you to the hero of our story, Jay. Jay was a crusty old man who had no kids in scouting anymore, but Jay was in the commissioners because he believed in the need to help the adults who were leading and teaching our kids. And Jay is a sort of a sit back and watch type of guy, but only for so long. Now, I'm not saying that at this point Jay switched in a blink of the eye from mild-mannered commissioner to superhero scouter guy. Jay was never much of a mild-mannered type of guy in the first place. But he did put on his superhero cap, which would have made me buy a Commissioner Jay action figure just from this one night's experience. Jay, who was sitting next to me at the meeting, in fact, he was sitting between myself and Dave, stands up from the table, looks at the council representative and says, "Give me a minute." He then walks out of the room into the hall, and he gets on his flip phone. Yes, flip phones were still a thing. Now, the council representative, who has just been interrupted by Jay, looks at Dave. Then he looks at me. And he looks at the door that Jay just left through. And there's a window in that door. And you can see Jay talking adamantly on the phone. There's a small, uncomfortable moment in the meeting. And then the representative from the council continued on. And he got about a good 10 minutes in. At this point, the council rep has just about gotten the point across to the room that either the room needs to come to the realization that the council has stopped the BB gun program, or understand that this guy from the council knows less about this situation than he's letting on. So, at the point where the meeting is just about to move on to the next topic, Jay comes back in the room. "There's no problem." He announces that to the room and walks back to the table. "I will pick up 10 BB guns this week that have just been donated to the Will Rogers District." There's brief clapping from the crowd and a little bit of pride from the commissioners. Jay has just jumped in and fixed the problem. And then the council representative says, "You can't do that. The district can't own any property, so no one can donate anything to the district. Only the charter organizations can own property, and they run the units. Or the council. The council can own property. The district commissioners only work for the council." This is when I open up my mouth. "I thought I was a volunteer commissioner. Do you mean we're actually employed by the council? Are we supposed to be getting paid?" My humor was not well received from the council representative. Jay looks at the council rep. "So you're saying you would rather tell this guy who wants to donate 10 BB guns so that the Cub Scouts can have a BB gun range, you want to tell him no?" Councilman looks at Jay and says, "If he wants to donate those guns to the council, that would be okay. Then the district can borrow, any unit in the district can borrow those guns and set up a range." Now, another thing that I do often that gets me in trouble is I think out loud. And I put my hand on the table and I say, "But this gentleman," and by the way, I don't even know who this gentleman is that donated the guns. "This gentleman is not donating the guns to the district. He's donating the guns to Troop 300, to their charter organization," the Methodist Church, by the way. This is how the Methodist Church actually became the owners of 10 BB guns. This is also how our district became the go-to district to borrow our BB gun range, which grew into a BB gun, bow and arrow, and slingshot range. This is also how Jay and Bob were fired from the Volunteer District Commissioners Corps. No big deal. The charter organization of Troop 300, which happened to be the troop that my son had just bridged into from Cub Scouts, Troop 300, they were happy to take on those BB guns. So, no big deal for me. I lose my position. And so I went on to the troop level, and I picked up positions there. For a while, I was a committee member. I was an assistant scoutmaster, and then I was scoutmaster. Now, many times, Troop 300 used the BB gun, bow and arrow, and slingshot range. And how do I know it's the exact same BB gun and bow and arrow and slingshot range? Well, it's the one Dave, Jay, and I built. We put this kit together, and we called it the Range Kit. It was also Jay, Dave, and I who one night, over a couple of beers, took these Will Rogers Red Ryder BB guns and we branded them with the Will Rogers branding iron. So whenever anybody borrowed the kit, they would know exactly where these guns came from. In fact, in one of my last acts as Scoutmaster, so now we're talking several years even after this situation, Troop 300 went to a council level event called Top Shot. It was a weekend of BB guns, 22s, pistols, rifles, basically any caliber that was allowed, or that scouts were allowed to shoot, they had them out there. And it was a whole weekend that kids of all ages could go around to their appropriate age level and just have a ball out there. Well, when we got there, this was my first actual time to go to Top Shot. We show up that first night, and I go into the lodge there, and I'm checking in our troop. And the lady that was checking me in said, "Oh, by the way, Mr. Reynolds." It was never a good thing when they called me by my last name. The scoutmaster who is to run the BB gun range got sick and can't make it to the Top Shot. So you get to run the BB gun range. Yeah, okay. So here I am on my last event that I'm going to do as a scoutmaster for Troop 300. And I get to the range the next morning, and I'm very amused to see that years later, after Jay pulls an end around on the council, that the council, to put on their event, had to borrow the same BB guns and the BB gun kit that Jay, Dave, and I put together. In fact, years after that, my son is out of Scouts, and Dave comes down and hands me one of the original 10 BB guns. Still has the brand on the side. Well used, well loved, but it was still there. They retired the original 10 so that they were getting old. And I appreciate it. In fact, when my grandkids come into town, I can set up a BB gun range in my own backyard. And every time I do, I thank God for that crazy man, Jay, and his love for kids, and the attitude of just fix the problems and move on that he had. In fact, I think I'll take that old Red Ryder out for a bit of target practice. Until the next time, enjoy your coffee, enjoy your holiday.